Well, hello, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad I'm here too. Uh, Before I start, I want to say that everything in this video is the musings of an old man. It's just an old man trying to make sense of things, but I have a particular reason for this one, and that's to give kudos to somebody, a police officer that I know you know who I'm talking about. And that is Mr. Bret Payne. I think he is deserving of everything he gets, that's for sure. But and I guess he's already received an Officer of the Year award in 2023, and he's deserving of that. I'm telling you, to come into that situation, and the purpose of this video is not to try to find out who did it. I think law enforcement they're on that. We've got the FBI on it, state of Idaho police on it. I have faith in those people that they have gotten to the bottom of what really happened there. Now, there may be some political realities that keep them tethered, but they know what's going on. They got on it, okay? So I want to state that point blank, Now, as far as Bret Payne goes, the stuff that is coming out now, it just further and further. I mean, at first, the crime was coming in there. Well, Kathy Mabbitt said it was heinous and bad, but then she was overruled, and we started down the route of kind of a ninja assassin that came in there wearing Dickies. Now, that confused me, because when I was a younger man, I worked as a maintenance man, and I wore Dickies, and then later on, they weren't chic back then. They were just cloth. They didn't repel anything. They weren't going to protect you from anything. They just were a little bit of a barrier until your wife got to clean them up. But they didn't have any special powers like probably has happened to these modern Dickies. They're really, really something. Because I can't imagine a ninja that wants to avoid being caught wearing a pair of Dickies. But that they may have changed those. They may be very sophisticated now, but not in my day. They were just nothing special. Overalls made of cotton overalls. Not gonna stop DNA. Either coming or going. It's gonna be there. But anyway, but Bret Payne, he's got the goods on that. And for him to be able to, they waited for him 4 hours. They waited for him to get back to town. And for him to come into that situation, I mean, we don't have to imagine how terrible that situation might be. That would be a horrendous situation. But for him to come into that deal, and according to his statement that they're retracting it all now, but originally when I read it, it said that he basically walked into that room and looked at all of that stuff and laser focused right onto that knife sheath. Now, there's a lot of us that would, that kind of carnage would think knife maybe, something could have been part of this thing, but knife sheath, wow, that is the brain. That is the young man's skills and abilities to be able to focus on that and go right to it, and I can imagine a lot of the more senior officers, the captains that were involved with Moscow PD, and they had to be passed over for this Sherlock Holmes type amazing inspector, that they were completely confused by by the activities. You know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the night of the actual murders, 12 hours from when Bret Payne came, 12 hours before Bret Payne came on the scene, they were involved in putting down, depending on who you get your information from, a riot, a mostly peaceful riot, although that the way they like to put them, it's mostly peaceful. But they were out there in force. These captains, they were doing their thing, protecting their community, and doing a stellar job of it. But, and I think that may be some of the information they're withholding, is that, and they're doing it for the safety of those young people, those young women, they're surviving roommates. We've got to look out for them. They're doing it for their safety, but they're probably withholding that information, that 911 call originally at 3 o'clock in the morning was more serious than they're letting on. It was, police responded in force to get to the bottom of that, to shut that down, and they thought that they had, more than likely. You know, they all probably went home that evening giving each other a high five. It was a good job they did quelling that thing. The campus, the captain of the campus security, he was there. Probably why he couldn't be on the other one. Now, see, because you've got this DNA, right? That everybody knows that the fraternity brothers, all the ones that are out there creating the ruckus, their DNA is in the house. They partied in that house. It's over there. So that's, if you start opening up that DNA thing, it's going to be a whole lot of suspects, right? And they just were having a good time. So they're confused with that. But then at the end of the day, you look to this carnage, and now that is not fraternity prank. That's not that. That's, you know, and I think that is Dylan Mortensen's. He can sift through all this stuff. That's the thing about that Bret Payne. He can sift through all of that. You know, I would venture a guess and bet you $1 to a round donut that Bethany Funk's information is that she was at that party. She heard them boys talking, you know, and boys and girls. She heard the ruckus going on, and it was a ruckus, probably not. They weren't planning anything like what happened, but there was something. Xana and Maddie had gotten sideways with somebody, the fraternity, some drug people. So, but Bret Payne can look through that and see what needs to be done, you know, and focus on that knife sheath and find the culprit. Well, I get confused, because how you, if it looks like 4 people did it, see, that's why you need Bret Payne. If it looks like 4 people did it, but you're finding a little knife sheath from maybe one of them, but it could be that you're going to convict him for first-degree murder and give him the death penalty, and then you're gonna offer him, hey, you know, we won't kill you. You just got to tell us what happened with these other people. Because there's a couple of questions, and I'm not at Bret Payne's level. Believe me, I am not saying that. This is the musings of an old man. But I think I have a lot of faith in our FBI, and there's a drug route through there that ends up in Calgary, Alberta. And this sounds a lot like that. Like somebody got sideways of them, but they say no drugs, but they could be moving the case along, you know, I mean, keeping it moved along. getting to the right first. And the thing is, on the peripheral of this case, it appears as though potentially, I mean, some of the people involved could have had accidents. Well, that's what they call it nowadays when you accidentally, how do they word it? It is opioid poisoning. It's an accident. Opioid poisoning. Nobody meant to do that. That's what, you know. And if those boys worked for a opioid distributor and they brought that mess back to Canada, making it back to Canada, they'd have a short celebration, I would think. They would suffer an opioid poisoning. And one of the folks on the peripheral that was a member of the fraternity, he suffered an opioid poisoning. So he had an accident. The other one on the peripheral of the case, not sure what exactly went on, but he got shot by law enforcement. So if he had anything to do with it, not anymore. So you've got a little bit of a dead end there. You got rid of all the evidence at the time of the trial because you were trying to protect the fraternity. And maybe good reasons for that. You know, you're trying not to involve 50 different potential witnesses or potential perpetrators because their DNA is in the house. Now, you may find the confusing thing to me, and I'm sure Bret Payne has an answer for this, but the confusing thing to me is something had to have happened because with the ease of what they do with opioid poisonings and having it be an accident, why in the world would you do the other to bring all this level of craziness? Why would you do that? So that's a question I am sure that before this trial is over, Bret Payne will have an answer for that. He will be on that. Because to me, it seems like, yeah, I mean, why would you? If you've seen the amount, if you took a pencil and you held it up, you could balance enough of that horse tranquilizer, one of the ones they use. Imagine how you could use that to curtail the situation. But if you look at the unliving or poisoning, opioid poisoning of Kalen Young, he's the former fraternity president of that place, and he was found there. They called in a drug dealer and an associate from that area called in for 911 to come help him. And they took him to the hospital, kept him 12 hours. Then they sent him home. And he died. And they originally arrested them for killing him, providing the drugs to kill him. And now they're out. They got out. So they need a Bret Payne on these things because, man, I just get totally confused. It just seems to me like, yeah. But that's the thing. To me, an average guy, you know, it looks like drugs. One or two people from the fraternity involved with the drugs, diversion, with a fraternity fight, murder takes place, cops come in, get rid of all the evidence, and then the FBI, I'm pretty sure, knows. So, I'm just not at his level. I get bogged down in all these things, and I could get way off. So we'll be coming to you. Again, kudos to Bret Payne. Kudos. I mean, I'm on a fixed budget. I'm retired and a fixed income, so yeah, Yeah, they don't have anything monetarily to give you, but boy, I tell you, I'm thinking you're okay.